exactly what we're talking about. This is the second public hearing on this. I think we have someone to speak to it tonight with.
How y'all doing?
Hi, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. Last month, my coworker Jason Elms was here. I believe he talked for a few minutes. I brought some blow-up copies. Didn't know if anybody wanted to look at anything particular on the plan development. I believe one clarification that Jason talked about last time was that, and it's the existing zoning is plan development, and this is an amendment. The agricultural was just miscommunication early on. Yeah. It's zone plan development with the grid style, and so this is the amendment to it to give the curved linear land plan.
That's on the next phase coming through, right?
Yes, sir.
That goes from the end we just got done with the streets up towards behind the park. Is that it?
There will be a connection to the phase that just wrapped up construction. However, primary access will be Patriot Parkway. So this phase extends up Patriot Parkway and basically sits on the hilltop behind the amenity center, and then it goes down from there to the east. But and this is the existing phase, and I'd say 85% of it sits to the west of that.
With the carbon literature redesign, approximately at full development, how many homes are you talking about?
With this phase,
just in that phase,
this phase is 205 lots.
Okay.
So I believe it's right around 50 acres.
53.1308, to be exact.
Can I see what it is?
I know when I came down a few months back, one of the questions was about drainage. And in January 2015, y'all adopted ISWIM, the site design and construction criteria manual. And, you know, that's pretty much the go-to in DFW. And looking at some of the original phases, you know, the runoff coefficients and other factors that you apply to drainage, I would say are on the, you're going to calculate a lower volume. So one of the things you'll see with this phase that you might not have seen with some of the existing phases out there is with ISWIM criteria, you know, you'll have what I'd say most of the DFW uses to calculate runoff. And for a residential subdivision this size, the volume you calculate will be a little higher than with some of the old standards. So I think that may ease some of the concerns from the existing phases.
Will there be any visual difference that we can see just driving around? I mean, well, the drainage curves be bigger, deeper. I mean, I know we can't see underground, but I'm just driving around. Will you see a difference in the curvature of the ground, or what?
No, what you would see would be a curb inlet, probably a little higher upstream. So maybe if you have a curb inlet with ISWIM, you probably have a curb inlet every 7 acres. With the old runoff, you might have a curb inlet every 8.5, 9 acres. So what you'll see is the flow being intercepted a little earlier
in the system. Most people would never notice that, I'm sure, but. Do you have anything?
And then there's a one, I think it was phase 4. It's got about a little over 9 acres off-site that punches through between 2 lot lines and into the street. I believe, that was probably not an ideal thing. There may be, if I were to drive around and look at what I would say might be an issue with some of the existing drainage was usually 9 acres to do a point discharge into the street wouldn't be recommended. and it'd be getting really technical, but looking back at some of the time concentration that was used to calculate that flow, I mean, I would say, once again, I would have, for undeveloped, I would usually assume 3.5 CFS per acre. And I think when I was reviewing the calculations on that, it was just a little on the lower end from what I would normally see. So I think when you add those factors together, then I think you'll see a noticeable difference with the I-swing method.
Okay.
Just making a delivery.
Oh,
We both have meetings and he just got home.
oh, okay.
So everything on that one's going to be going out to Patriot on the exit.
The exit for this one, there'll be one connection, President's Way is the first north and south street, phase 2, there will be a connection to that, but I would say, you know, the easiest access is Patriot Parkway, so that'll be,
Yeah, it looks like the northern section has 2 streets going out to Patriot Parkway, and then everything else is kind of coming down to President's Way and then coming out Liberty. Correct?
and, you know, that first stretch of Patriot Parkway has a couple of homes that actually front to it. One of the nice things about this from an access thing is there's no additional lots being fronted on Patriot Parkway. And Patriot Parkway is 37 feet back to back, so, you know, I would think that most of your residents with this phase are gonna wanna take Patriot Parkway because it's gonna be a wider street, there's no lots fronting. We went with that amenity center there and then the overhead electric easement, you know, the likelihood of, you know, anybody parking in there, like you see in the 50-foot right-of-way streets, you know.
Right. This is that section right now that they have all the roads built. The new section behind Dollar General.
Oh, yeah.
So that first bit of the road, that's what, this is the electric lines going across right here.
How close is that county road? Is it showing?
Yeah, it's still a little bit further off. It's still up in here. Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you what, it might be right up here, because it's not too far from the gas well. You know where that county road is?
The one to the north,
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
County Road
60?
520 or
620.
620.
620.
Oh, it's 6
She
something.
got the gas. Oh, it's right here.
Marked here. It's not too far off,
It's
is
not
it?
too far north from there.
the,
Is this on your boundary that y'all own?
you can't actually see it, it comes up a little further, it's probably in this ground, so if you were to project this over, and so the county road it doesn't cut through our property.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the property.
I guess what we were getting at is, this is still gonna funnel a lot of traffic down to those 2 exits. I was wondering, at some point, how far back y'all would have to build before you could put an access road to that county, Road 610, that comes out to 67 over here.
Yeah,
157.
Or 157, I'm sorry, 67 down there, 157 is right over here, and they're gonna expand it in the next couple of years. TxDOT says they are, we'll see. But we was wondering, at some point,
I think one of these other exhibits, if I can switch one out for you, real quick, might have a little bit zoomed out. This is the overall sewer, this one. can't, I mean, this viewpoint's the same, but if you look here, this is the, to give you a factor of how far the manhole is extend. So you can see just order of magnitude, it goes quite a bit further. So the nearest road is,
Doesn't this go all the way back to that other county road back? Cause
would be that, you get B.B. Jones and then,
B.B. Jones in here, cause somewhere around here was where I grew up. You know, no Stroud place that I grew up on, right back here on this county road.
but when you add in the fact that there's residents that are gonna be fronting these narrower streets, I just think from ease of access, everybody's gonna want to Patriot Parkway, because this whole stretch here, you don't have any lots fronting, you just have that little bit here. And then where we're proposing, there's not any lots
Just trying to
fronting.
go out to Lone Star, you know, it's just, they're going down residential roads instead of just having the main road around. Like a good lot there, 250 homes here, this section up here has,
This was 55, I believe.
55.
there was 77,
73, 75, something?
Yes, close to 80, I think.
yeah, so.
You're talking an additional, well, of course.
And this is classified, I mean, from, you know, COG or NTCOG regulates, you know, how the size of roads when they're laying out a subdivision. And so Patriot Parkway, being a collector, that 37-foot section, the amount of trips here doesn't exceed what, you know, your average daily trip total count would need. You go to like a arterial or something even wider with maybe 4 lanes.
So even with those calculations, it'll support this?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what the flow would have to be for the state to approve a line?
April did forward me the text dot study. I can take a look at it. I haven't read it in great detail. I know they didn't warrant the signal with that study.
Yeah, but businesses moving in here too.
Yeah, because we're looking at possible business coming into that area.
Yeah, that's inevitable. I mean, Chuck said that's going to go in probably after this phase because of the number of houses back there.
205, is that what you said?
This is 205.
205.
But the liquor store guy said that TxDOT's already approved that. But that is going to go in once he starts building, they see construction there.
That's all I had.
I just wondered, that the local guys gonna run the red light like they ran a stop sign today. I was coming back and they just, and I went, okay.
Thank you.
You have any other questions?
Checking it out.
I appreciate that. You're real familiar with that area, like one of the rest of us. But, are any questions from the audience? Public hearing, public speak? Kelly, I think it's all up to you. No? Well, we've gone 15 minutes, so I appreciate it. I'll adjourn this public hearing at 6:45.
Thank you.
We'll start the city council meeting in 15 minutes.
Do you think that's what it does, or I think that's messed with it?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Bring your fancy iPad.
How's Judy?
She's home, but she can't do anything. She's laying around frustrated that she's not off duty. Having a rest.
We should have played
Sorry, it's the 30th anniversary of Top Gun today. So
Yes, I saw that.
30?
30, yeah.
30th anniversary.
I
Yes,
had
you
that
did
on-
know.
I had the whole movie on cassette tape.
Oh, they,
When I was going to flight school up in Tulsa, when I was coming back to Austin on weekends every once in a while, I'd plug that in, get on the
Yeah.
turnpike, and I'd get into those dog fights on the movie, and my gas pedal was on. So now I'm doing about 9,500 on Indian Turnpike.
Steve, watching TV while he was driving?
No, it was on cassette, so I'm listening to it.
Oh.
I had to download it on
I think it's a
cassette.
VHS cassette, I was like,
That
oh.
was back in the days when all you had was cassette, and that was right after the 8-track left.
I think they only spent $15 million on that movie.
That's
So,
right.
somebody made a pretty penny.
Election's about time to get some bills in. Waiting for the election.
You send those on.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys still need it? I know, sir.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thank you, forever.
I just can't make notes on
How do you?
Well, you just, said you were highlighting, these were the things that's highlighted, because you wrote things.
Front row, front row. They don't get the free pass.
Type it in, and it'll bend it down, so you can click on it. Click it aside, just click on that, and it'll bring up your notes.
I start out like this when I screwed up and shit, that didn't mess that up.
Yeah,
It's gonna be over here on the store, where the old bank was.
The elementary sells it.
Oh,
Yeah, in the locker, it's gonna be the old one,
yeah, I guess I wasn't clear where you're talking
yeah, or Ellen, yeah.
about. Oh, recently.
So that's gonna be.
Yeah, I think the guy who is gonna be in the country store, just putting the tobacco off until they do the country store there.
So just look at that.
No one more.
Lock thing.
That's okay, there'll be several, there's several workshops.
Oh, there you go. Now put it here. That's what it is.
We get started here in about a minute. Anybody wants to speak in the public comment section needs to sign up prior to the meeting. The civic center is open, and if anyone needs to use the facilities. At 7 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, thankful for all your many blessings. We ask you to be with this council as they make decisions that will lead this city into the future. We ask you to be with our emergency service personnel, EMS, fire, and police. Keep them safe. We ask you to be with our military personnel around the world and keep them safe also. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will you do roll call for me, please?
Sure, thank you. Mayor Burgess?
Present.
Councilmember Fraser?
Present.
Councilmember Wood?
Present.
Councilmember Tolan Scott?
Present.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Present.
Councilmember Nicky?
Present.
Thank you. You have a phone.
Thank you very much. Announcements and presentations by the mayor. Cell phones are to be turned off or placed on vibrate, silent only. No conversations or comments from the audience is permitted. Unless specifically called upon by the mayor, please remain respectfully quiet. Another announcement, tomorrow night's scheduled charity softball game between the city and the Venus Independent School District has been moved due to potential weather. It's going to be a kickball competition in the high school gym. It starts at 6:30 and it's for a very worthy cause. So hope everybody makes plans to show up and watch the fun. So, moving along, citizen public comment period. Do we have anyone sign up tonight?
No, sir.
Well, then we can mark that one down and move along. Next is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussions of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Under the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes of the April 11, 2016 regular city council meeting and the public hearing, and ratify the payment of bills for the month of April 2016. Does any council member have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? No questions or comments on the consent agenda. The floor is open for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion made by Councilwoman Prazak, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Scott. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Motion carries. You worry me sometimes,
My arms are short and you just don't see them.
oh, is that what the
That's
problem
it.
is?
That's
Okay.
my story and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I'll get you a booster chair.
Okay.
Moving on to individual consideration items. Number 3, discuss and consider award of administrative service contract to the Public Management Incorporated for the city 2016 Tex CDBG Water Improvement Grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture. Ms. Stowe, you want to explain this to us?
It's the administration of the grant that we were awarded for the water looping system, public management, who's been in Patrick, Singer.
So it's just officially awarding it to them?
Yes. They were the only ones that submitted a proposal, so.
Any questions or comments from the council? No questions or comments from the council. I'll entertain a motion to award the administrative service contract to the Public Management Incorporated.
Make a motion to award the administrative services contract to Public Management, Inc.
Motion made by Councilman Wood, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Hernandez. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 4, discussion and consider approval of final replat of the ETJ of the City of Venice, Johnson County, Texas. Number 93, preliminary plat, lot 1R, block 1, Dale Edition. I think Mr. Dale's here tonight. You want to explain what your intentions are, sir?
Yes, sir. It's the property next to the church down the road, down 67.
Cowboy Church?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
First of all, sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Good evening.
And it used to be actually one piece of land, like 2005, I think. I kind of split it to 2 properties, just in case if I need to sell some and keep some. But unfortunately, because of the rules of the TxDOT that I cannot have approaches very close, so they couldn't allow me to have approach on the other small property. So now I decided to put it back to the way it was. So I had to replat it to be one piece, and I would like to develop it, of course. So the copy I sent Mr. April, it was on email, and she sent it to the engineer. So this is a hard copy if anybody wants to look at it.
They may want, I got it up here.
It's basically going back to be one piece instead of 2 pieces.
And this is an ETJ, so any development that you do will go through the county, it will be regulated by the county. The only regulation that we have is to approve this plat, and that's all.
You remember when,
Yes.
you remember when it was replatted before? How long ago was that?
Well, it was one piece like this.
Mm-hmm.
In 2005, I
2005.
got them into 2 pieces.
Okay.
But now I am replanning the game to be
Back to
one piece, so I can take advantage of the entrance, just one entrance, instead of 2 entrances.
So, y'all, anybody have any questions for Mr. Dale? Any comments from council on this? Well, there's no questions or comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I'll open the floor for a motion to accept the replat.
Make a motion to approve the final replat.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Councilwoman Prazak, second by Councilman Hernandez. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Discussion and consider approval of final plat presented by yourself, Akeem, described as a 2.0 acre tract of land located in front of Patriot Estates.
He didn't show up, but his plots have already gone through, they've gone through the engineering and they're in there. And the, y'all see him in the packet. He did it a little different. Usually we do final plat with construction plans at once, but he's having to plat out the 2 acres because he's buying that from Charlie Anderson. So he's just needing to plat approved tonight so that the land, the 2 acres will be his, and then he can start working on the construction plan, so.
But the plats have been approved by our engineers,
Yes,
correct?
everything's been through the process.
And that land there, it's gonna be commercial or residential?
It's commercial,
Commercial.
it's zoned commercial.
It's that area out there across the road, about $1, you know,
Correct.
in front of Patriot Estates. Any further questions by council or comments?
Does he already have plans of building something there or what?
Those are in the process. They'll come to you next month with the construction. He's doing it a little bit different.
Any further questions? Comments? So, floor is open for a motion to approve the final plats for
I'll make the
the
motion
property.
to approve the final plats as presented by Yusef Hakeem.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Davey, second. Second by Councilwoman Scott, all in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Discussion of the rental of the city-owned suite on Town Square at 114 West 2nd Street, Venus, Texas, to John Allen, owner of the Longhorn Locker Plant. Is he here tonight?
No, he wasn't gonna be here.
Be here
I'm just gonna, I put this on the agenda. He's out of town tonight.
Okay.
He'll be here next month to discuss this further, but just wanted to throw that out there and get any thoughts that you may have about renting that, because he purchased the open air suite, the one that doesn't have a roof, and that's right next door to the city-owned suite, which we've been cleaning out in preparation for this event. He's interested in renting it. It's just sitting there, we don't have a clear title on it, so we couldn't sell it even if we wanted to. So this would be an option to rent it. He's unsure what he wants to do with it, but he just wanted to put that out, to see if there's any interest from the city. There are upgrades and things that need to be done, like the electrical and the plumbing, so this may be a way for us to give him low rent. If he's willing to do those upgrades, it could be beneficial to both parties, so.
The open space?
No,
He
sorry.
owns the old civic center.
I'm sorry.
The old civic
The old
center.
civic center, the one the city owns but doesn't have a title to it.
Yeah.
And we've been just using it for storage. He's wanting to rent it, and, we've looked at selling it in the past, but because of some of the code, issues, electrical, as Ms. Stowe said, some other code issues that need to be brought up, that, it was not feasible for some people to buy it, because we never have been able to get a clear title to it. But we've had it since, long before we ever built the Civic Center, because it used to be the old community center before that, and he's just looking to rent it. And what Ms. Stowe was trying to say is maybe we could rent it to him at a half rate or something of that nature if he would do the code improvements. He really hadn't even decided what he wanted to do with it. He was just seeing if there was any interest in us doing that.
But if we rent that, it's unsafe as it is.
He'd have to bring up the code before we give him an occupancy certificate. But if we agreed to rent it at a lesser rate than what a fully functional building would be, then he might be willing to upfront the money and bring it up to code if he had significant incentive.
And how much, stuff do we have for the city, Rocas, on, that building?
We still got a bunch of stuff in there, but we cleaned the upstairs. There was, where they had built the, haunted house
Okay.
for the kids in the fall.
So we'll be able to use the upstairs, or would they rent the whole thing?
I would imagine, I hadn't talked to him personally myself, but I would imagine he would rent the whole thing, and we would
We're
have.
just gonna have to move the things that we have downstairs.
And do we have the space to put it
Oh, yeah.
somewhere else?
Yeah, we'll figure out something.
All right, because I didn't want to rent that and all of a sudden have to rent another building to put the stuff
No,
somewhere else.
No, before we ever went into an agreement, we would make sure that we had significant storage to put our stuff out. The public works are over here behind the water tower or something.
yeah, we have the old ornaments there, you know, the reindeer and the Santa Claus and stuff, which, you know, they were donated to the city to begin with, you know, we're just keeping them up. But I don't know what direction we wanna go with these things, they're using a lot of space, so.
Yeah, you're not talking about the new Christmas
No,
stuff,
no.
the old ones.
We got the new stuff up in our shop over there, you know.
You know who donated those? Do you have any idea who donated those?
Sue's being kind, they're
Ah.
probably going on.
They were-
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy over there south of the prison that he was, he used to do a lot of stuff with metal, you know, like a welder. And he donated them even before I got hired here with the city, so.
Understood, well,
They need to be refurbished, right?
well, either refurbished or sold for scrap. I mean, most of them are, like, beyond university, but that's, the point is, we will find a place for them or get rid of them, one of the two. Make room for this agenda item. If y'all give clear indication that's something you wanna do, if you don't, well, this is just a discussion item, and we're just trying to see whether we should proceed with it, spend staff time in drawing up some type of agreement, or, you know, even further discussions with you, or if y'all don't have any clear indication y'all don't wanna do this, so it's just.
I think it would be a great idea. That way it would be, someone would be using the building if he wants to be able to fix the plumbing and electrical at his expense, and then we might rent it out to him at a lesser charge. At least the building wouldn't be just sitting there vacant. We would get, the city would be getting benefits from it, would have money coming in, and we wouldn't just have a vacant building, and he could put in, you know, some kind of business or something.
If you put in some kind of business,
Yeah.
then possibly that would bring
Exactly.
more attention to downtown,
Yeah,
depending
I
on what it
think that's
was.
a great idea.
Yeah. Mr. Wood?
Has he discussed these things about what's wrong with the building?
Yeah, he's aware that it needs all work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unlike a lot of buyers, they don't have the money to
Yeah.
do the repairs, and the city's not ready to spend that kind of money at this time. We got so many other things going on. We could find somebody that would do it, because we're not making anything off of it now.
Exactly.
Plus, it's not creating any interest in downtown with it as a storage facility. So, yeah, if everybody's agreeable, then I'll instruct Ms. Stowe to proceed on with discussions and see what she can come up with for us.
What do you think?
Okay. Number 7, discuss and consider approval of resolution 05-2016 to authorize the opening of a non-interest bearing bank account for the medical expense reimbursement plan claims administration as allowed through section 105C of the International Revenue Code. What this is for is the city to get a lesser rate on their insurance, and we've done this for years, is always taking a $5,000 deductible on the employees. For several years of that, we only take the responsibility of $1,000 to the employee, and if the city, if they went over that $1,000, the city would pick up the remainder of $5,000, which was $4,000. Well, under the latest changes that was approved last year, and part of that was the employees got some short-term disability, the agreement changed somewhat, and now we split the cost, $2,500, $2,500. But we were also informed by the new insurance carrier that the city cannot just pull from the general fund. They need to have a separate bank account that they put this money into that is only used for this purpose. So this is just an authorization to open that account and put money into it, and we'll budget each year to put more money into it. And if it's not used, which, you know, we've gone through several years that, you know, the city never had to put anything in. We've had a couple of years that, you know, because of illness or injury, the city had a couple of times we had to put into it. So, but as the city grows and the employees grow, it probably will be more often. So if we put, I don't know, say $5,000 into it each year and it's not used, it'll go to 10, 20, 30,000. And if we did, we get hit with 3 or 4 in 1 year, the money would be in that account. It would not be in just the general fund, which we were instructed was not the proper legal way of handling it. So this is to authorize the city to open up an account at the bank, just another account, and put the money into it to cover this. And so, is this all correct? Anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Stowe, Ms. Lynn?
I think you covered it all.
Any questions by the council?
So before they were paying 1/5 of the deductible, we were paying the other 4. And now we're just going to take it at 2,500, we get 2,500.
I did the first 2,500, they go over 2,500.
We'll pay whatever portion up to 5,000, and then it kicks in, and it's the normal, I think, 80/20 split for the employees, but this is just on just the deductible.
Hi, I'm Ginger Patterson. I'm your insurance agent.
Well, come on over here and explain all this to us.
Well, you were doing such a good job. I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying. My name is Ginger Patterson. I am the insurance agent for the city of Venus, and I had the pleasure of doing business with you guys for about 2 years now, and I really enjoyed working with April and Kathy, and so thank you for having me here. Basically, you're exactly right. You've always had a $5,000 limit. You did the first 1,000 the employee picked up, and the other 4,000 the city picked up. The reason why we're asking for this special account is because with the ACA and all of the new insurance laws that are out there with Obamacare or Affordable Care Act, however you like to label it, basically it requires a lot of checks and balances. So when you used to take it out of your general fund, there was no checks and balances of exactly where that money was going to. Was it going to deductible? And so that's when we step in and we say, okay, the first $2,500 is paid by the employee. Anything over that, they have to remit us a receipt so that we can say, okay, this is going to deductible, just to make sure. Because the employer can fund the risk is deductible. No co-pays, no Sealy Posturepedic mattress because you have a bad back, which is unfortunate. Cannot refund for those type of things. You cannot reimburse for those types of things, but you can reimburse for deductible, MRI, PET scan, those types of things, procedures in the office. It's not interest bearing, so that money can be transferred back and forth quickly. So it can go to it can get to the employee or get to the proper physician's office.
So does this account can be like a separate checking account? Can you write a check on it?
No, yes, and it can be. What it will happen is once the form is we receive the form through Diversified from April from Kathy, then that money gets transferred into our trust. Then that money goes from our trust directly to the provider. And the reason why it comes back and forth like that is because we need checks and balances, because we'll call and we'll make sure that it's being towards deductible. It's
So
been-
it'd be just electronically transferred
Yes,
from
sir.
the account?
Yes, sir. We could do a physical check, it just takes a lot longer, and nowadays with computers and internet and that kind of thing, it's easily transferred.
I was just curious because normally everything that's paid out to the city has, we have a checking balance of 2 people have to sign the check.
Okay.
It's either me and the mayor pro tem or me and the city secretary or them two. How would that affect that?
We reached out, I also do the city of El Dorado, and they've had the MERP in place for 3 years. I asked Kathy to reach out to the city.
I hadn't heard that, but unless you have opposition to it, I would think that the ACH would work that instead of running a physical check.
So would you have the authority yourself just to transfer the money to them
Yes.
on your own recognizance? Okay, I'm just curious. How it's gonna work.
So how does it work if we pull the money out of the general funds?
So before, when you were pulling it out of your general funds, you were non-compliant with the ACA. Because in that case, you could discriminate. I mean, it's not written anywhere, so really you could say, well, we're only gonna pay this for upper management, or we're only gonna pay this for this department. So it was non-compliant. Now, with the master MERP agreement, which I've given to Kathy, Kathy has it, and with the master MERP agreement, it states everything. You're not gonna discriminate. Who gets it? Everybody gets it. All the employees get it. How is it reimbursed? How is it, the checks and balances with the city through Diversified? That's what the master agreement puts. It protects the employer, so it protects the city.
Okay, but in general funds, we would normally pull money out of there or had a line item for this, but you're saying now,
I see what you're asking. So when that money comes out of the MERP medical expense reimbursement fund, it will be a line item stating which employee received the reimbursement, how much they received how much the reimbursement was for, as well as which provider did it go to, so that it shows that it did go to deductible. That will all be line item out. We send that to you once a quarter via spreadsheet. I'll send that to Kathy.
Let me ask, is that what that answers your question?
Is that what you're
Or- No, I think
asking, or-
what you're saying is, the money coming out of our general fund going into this account, how do we determine how much?
yeah, how much and will we get in trouble? Let's use an
Because our
example.
budget already in place.
Yeah, because we already have a budget in place, and let's say we purchase something that costs X amount of money,
Right,
and we're gonna pull that money out of the general funds.
1099 it back to the city.
I'm sorry.
You just turn it back over to the city. You just turn it back over to the city.
It was budgeted.
But it was,
for.
yeah.
We budgeted for the money, we're just opening a literal account. It's already in the line item, it's already been approved to
Yes.
designate this money. We just need a bank account to put that.
How much is in that line
Correct.
item right now? 5,000? So there's already a line item to cover this, it's just 5,000.
It just needs to be a separate.
And we just need to take it out of the line item general account, and put it into a separate bank account at the bank.
Correct. I understand that part, but I was trying to figure out
How much?
if we do that for purchasing something else besides what we got now, will we have to do?
Versus something else like
Yeah.
what?
I'm confused.
Let's say we purchase property, okay, and we pull out a big chunk of money, will we get in trouble by pulling out?
No, this is
that
only
money?
for medical. This is
Correct, I
only for
understand.
medical.
But I was trying to see if maybe she knew the answer on these other questions.
Well, being that she's just
On the
dealing
medical
with
part,
healthcare,
correct.
I don't think she knows much about that.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, as far as the line item for the city, as far as the whole bank, the bank account, the non-interest bearing bank account where it can be pulled from that, I will have a full spreadsheet on any time that money is utilized, from which employee it's used for.
So we would have a break item down.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Where the money went, and what everybody went to.
And then it also goes to ACA, and that'll be a part, so it just proves that you have qualifying coverage for your employees as well.
And the resolution is set up so that the bank account will show that it has to be in compliance to the MERP agreement. So I think you were asking whether or not the money in that account can be used for something else?
No,
No.
just strictly the deductible.
Okay,
Deductible.
that's correct.
But I wanted to know, break it down, understand where the money's going and so on. And, or we'll be under, you know, hey, the money went here, it's a done deal. Will we have something broke down like y'all normally do? Which item number went to so-and-so, and which employee got that,
Yes.
and, you know,
You'll have
focus on what's
you
going
can
on.
print out exactly who it went to and what for.
Correct.
Absolutely.
The amount.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
But under HIPAA law, wouldn't that be invasive?
I have a HIPAA on you, everybody. So I have a HIPAA, I can talk about insurance, but I can't talk about your
No, but
diagnosis.
I'm just saying, if you showed us where the money went to and who it went for, and what it went for, would that not be a violation of their HIPAA law?
No, sir, because I'm not gonna, it's not about diagnosis, it's just going to that provider. So it just talks about, okay, so it's going to Hughley Southwest Hospital, X-ray.
Or an MRI.
Yeah, or an MRI,
It doesn't
exactly.
tell what the results of the MRI
Does not tell
was.
diagnosis, no, sir, I'm not allowed to divulge any type of diagnosis. I
Okay.
can talk about your money as far as your benefit goes, but I cannot talk about your diagnosis. No, sir.
Okay.
All right.
So in this MERP plan, on 7C, it shows that, you know, it's $5,000 deductible with $1,000 to the employee.
Yes, that was what you had, that's what you had originally beforehand. That was your old plan. I apologize if that is a misstatement on that. It's a $2,500 split, yes, sir. That's what you originally had in the beginning. But when we went through enrollment, we changed that to the 2,500 split, yes, sir.
Okay, but we don't have that document, right? Where it shows the split.
We do have that in the MERP. Here it is right here.
She's talking about in our package. I think we do, no?
You do have a EBS, it's called it's the employee benefit summary, and I do apologize, in that description, it does have the 1,000 with the 4,000.
Well, even this one right here shows, you know, in the green up here.
Oh, yes, that
5,000.
is a sample. That's an example of how a MERP plan works.
Okay.
That's an example of how a MERP plan works. However, in your master agreement, which was done under Angie Wade, we do have it signed for the $2,500 split in your master MERP agreement. And I have that right here.
Okay, I see it right here.
Maximum annual amount.
It's a 2,500 for med, 2,500 for
Mhm.
dental.
And they added the extra 500 for the dental because the plan that we had last year through UHC, the cost was going up, so we went through MetLife and we were able to get the cost down, and we were justifying the offset because the cost that went, the plan that went down actually cut the benefit by $500. So we did get a benefit for a lot less and offset it with the reimbursement of $500 for that max allowable, max allowable for MetLife to pay that $1,500.
That's 2,500 employee per year, correct?
Correct, per deductible year. Per deductible year, starts January 1. Okay, not plan year, deductible year. Which is frustrating, that's a new ACA thing too. We all went from these plan years to now we all have, calendar year for deductible.
Okay, so we go 5, 10 years, and, you know, each year we're putting in 5,000, I guess, correct? Because that's our line budget. So
Just be changing.
we don't have, but maybe 2 people in 5 or 10 years, are we allowed to pull that money back?
Yes, you are. You're absolutely allowed to do that.
And you said you just do a 1099
1099 it back to the city. 1099 it back to the city. So it's y'all's money. You can do whatever, however you like to do it. You could go ahead and you could.
We're keeping it in there for easy access to be able to pay for the
Right,
benefits.
in compliance.
And to be compliant,
And
correct?
compliant and for just be able to documentation.
Absolutely. And that's what the MERP agreement, it protects employer because, it tells you all the things that they will cover, all the things we can reimburse for and all the things we cannot reimburse for. So like cleaning the duct system out of the building, I can't reimburse for that, those kinds of things. But I can do allergy shots.
And there's all kinds of options as the city grows, we may need more money in there.
Absolutely.
But we don't ever use it, and we get up to 50,000 or something, we can just not put in there for a few years until we need to go back to putting into
Because
it.
we're only paying 2,500 of it anyway. So right now, we have nothing there to cover to the employees if anything happens.
Right.
And statistically, that's where y'all are at, exactly.
Okay.
That's right.
And if for some reason we had 3 employees, we can just transfer more money into this account. Right?
Yes, sir, and it's also first come, first served. So through the calendar year, as people are coming in, if necessary, and you only are going to disperse at certain times, then the understanding is it's first come, first served. So first in, first out. So the first claims in are the first ones paid out as you reimburse back into that account. So they can first in, first out.
Yeah, answer my question, thank you.
Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Any further questions or comments? And then the floor is open for a motion to approve resolution 05-2016. Go ahead, John.
To approve resolution 05-2016.
Now, a motion made by Councilman Hernandez, second. Second by Mayor Pro Tem Dady. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 8, discussion and consider approval of resolution 06-2016 to authorize the opening of a non-interest bearing account for the award E-grant from the Office of the Governor for the State of Texas for the purchase of body-worn cameras for the City of Venus Police Department. Again, this is a regulation by the grant people that we have to have a separate money in a separate account, correct, Chief?
Yes. Yeah, the governor's office requires this, so we can track the purchase of the cameras and make sure we're spending it only on what's necessary. So they've requested Kathy to create this account so they can give us our money for the body cameras.
So, what, our portion go into this account too?
No, just their portion.
Just their portion?
We'll track our portion of that account and keep it in the same paperwork, but this is just for them to deposit money into our account.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? No questions or comments, then the floor is open to approve resolution 06-2016.
I make a motion to approve resolution 06-2016.
Motion made by Councilwoman Grazak, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Scott. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 9. Discussion and consider approval of ordinance 433-2016, an ordinance of the City Council of City of Venus, Texas, ordering the amendment of the City of Venus Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 30-56 and 30-57, to add new Section 3058, prohibiting parking on Lone Star Avenue to provide safer movement of vehicles and pedestrians at the intersection of Lone Star Avenue and numerous residential streets. Chief, I think you were instrumental in this proposed resolution. Can you explain it to us exactly what we're looking at?
Absolutely, and I believe Councilman Hernandez was also at the HOA meeting for Patriot Estates that we went to last month. But they had brought up some parking concerns along Lone Star Avenue, particularly at the curb lines. So, for instance, on Washington Way, when you're approaching Lone Star Avenue, there's vehicles parking along that roadway, and when they try to exit that street, it's hard to see down the roadway. It's almost causing vehicle accidents. So what we proposed was putting 30 feet from the corner to where vehicles couldn't park within that 30 feet, so you'd have a decent view of the roadway and hopefully limit the number of accidents. The good thing with this ordinance is it's all fence line on that side of the street, so you're not prohibiting anybody from parking in front of their home. And then it's just 30 feet from the curb. So what we would do is we would go from the curb line 30 feet down, post a sign that says no parking at any time with an arrow facing back towards the curb. And then between the two signs, you'd be able to park. It may not be a lot of area, but there'd still be some parking on each little section of Lone Star Avenue on the fence side. You'd still be able to park on the other side near the homes. And I think the fire department was at this meeting as well. And we believe it may increase the ability of the fire trucks and police cars to turn out onto Lone Star Avenue. And there are a number of other areas, but this was supported by the members of the board and the community members that were at that meeting. And they thought this was a priority for their community. So CAST developed this ordinance in order to help that.
So this ordinance only pertains to that area on Lone Star Avenue along the fence?
Yes.
Well, where it says in numerous residential streets, what does that pertain to?
Streets that exit out onto Lone Star. I think is what you're talking about in there.
Yeah, I think there's, so you have Rebel, Mount Vernon, Jefferson, Independence.
Hancock, Independence.
And so there's numerous streets that are gonna be exiting out onto Lone Star Avenue that this would apply to. So 30 feet from each of those curb lines along Lone Star, and the fence line, you wouldn't be able to park on that side of the road.
Okay.
And Chief, there are, I think, 2 places in the middle part where the good part of parking, where there's actually fire hydrants.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that, so
Yes.
people can't park where those fire hydrants are either.
Right, and those are already painted with the 15 feet on there, so they should already know that they can't park in front of the fire hydrant in that area as well.
And the other thing too, council, the version that was downloaded to your packets, there's been one change since that. I'd like to go over that with you. If you'll go to the section on page 2 of 4, under section 30-58, and then under C. We all there?
No.
No?
Where is it?
This one right here.
Okay. I'm with you now, go ahead.
Okay, on C where it said, before it read that no parking signs should be noticed, we realized that the wording of that, because Councilman Wood caught it today, made it seem like that there were no parking signs allowed, but instead we were looking for no parking signs, yeah? Chief texted me a little bit ago, and he said he wants to put in the words, no parking anytime, and this he just described with an arrow. And so I've changed it to read, signs that read no parking at any time shall be posted clearly identifying the areas where parking is prohibited along Lone Star Avenue. And that gets us out of that problem.
Question.
Yes.
Is printed no parking anytime, you stated no parking at any time? Is there a difference? I mean.
The language would be sign, is under C, it says signs that read no parking anytime shall be posted clearly identifying the areas where parking is prohibited along Lone Star Avenue. And that's the only change that was made, council, just that one little section.
Because now it reads no parking, or the way it did read was no parking signs shall be posted. So you couldn't post a parking sign. Illegal to post parking signs.
Well, with fairness, when it says shall be posted, and it also says that the ordinance doesn't go into effect until signs are posted, common sense would say that we wouldn't have passed an ordinance unless we wanted to post the signs. But it is smart to clean that language up, and we did it, and that's the only change we made. Everything else is exactly the same.
Ms. Glenn, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And Mayor, we've already, Chief was kind and already used his printer and printed off 3 new copies, so that tonight, if it's passed, we can pass it with that language, and we don't have to delay your signing or Kathy or I signing.
Well, it makes sense saying signs shall read, you know, instead of
Yeah.
the part first.
And now that we have the chief's language that he wants, he actually sent me a picture of the sign he wants to use. I guess you buy those from some website, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It was Google, I was just trying to find the sign I wanted, so.
And what we'll do is we'll just have little arrows this way or that way, depending on where it is. And we did not include that top chunk that goes into that cul-de-sac, and we didn't include anything south of Washington Way, because the top chunk of that road goes into like a little cul-de-sac. And then we didn't do Washington Way down south, because there's actually houses that face that street.
And the residents at the HOA meeting were, I think decidedly that they didn't want to prohibit parking in front of each other's residences. They wanted to only work where there was fence lines and.
The main concern was the safety of the kids and everybody trying to drive out of there, pull out of those side streets onto the main roadway, because there's been a lot of close calls.
Absolutely.
If you guys will also look in the penalty section, I did something a little innovative here that I figured people that were going to offend this might do it twice. So I actually created a $1 to $100 fine for a first offense. And then I increased the fines to a minimum of $50 up to a $200 fine, which is the statutory maximum. So that if we had somebody that did this multiple times and the officers had a consistent problem with them, that we could fine them a higher amount.
Any of the council members have a question for the chief or the cast on this agenda item? Anyone have any comments on this agenda item?
I think that's a good idea, for the kids' safety and also for the people that drive through there.
So I assume this is pretty well an ongoing problem, or they wouldn't have been having blanks about it.
Yes.
If no further comments or questions, the floor is open for a motion to approve ordinance 433-2016.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 433-2016.
Motion made by Councilman Hernandez, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davey. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 10, discuss and consider approval to authorize the city of Benton to perform road work on County Road 214, FM 1807 to County Road 109. Caesar, you're up, bud.
Sir, I've been getting in contact with this company that is going to do the overlay, well, the road work in general. Doing these two roads here, Walnut Street and West 3rd Street, you know, we're going to be spending about $101,000 for both roads. We budget on the street repairs, you know, that includes my budget for us to do road work ourselves, $200,000, but we're gonna have about $97,000 left. I contacted a company and I asked them if they can give us a price on do this County Road 214 in two phases. Do the dirt work first and get it ready close to the end of the budget year. And then we just have to wait for a couple months until the new budget is approved to do the second part with the asphalt there. So the reason we put it in there is because we need to get it approved. The road is going to be a gravel road for a couple months. And it's going to be, the price is going to be $93,000 to do that. To get it paid, you know, a couple months later, the price that they quote us is $164,000. Considering that we only budgeted $200,000 for the year, that's going to take a big chunk of our budget for next year, 2017. So I just need to see if you'll agree with us to get it done and just leave it there for a couple months. Of course, they're going to put some kind of a seal on it to keep it so it won't deteriorate that much before we get it paid.
But that was the only concern was if we don't pave it, or they can't get back out here, the weather gets bad, they can't get to it, for whatever reason, for 3 or 4 months, could that work deteriorate past the point of them being able to just come in and pave it and have to do a bunch of dirt work again?
Well, that's what I was trying to schedule it, you know, close to the end of the budget. You know, doing this work, of course, you know, it's going to be probably a little bit more money because we have to do a few more testing on the ground, geotests on the thickness of that subgrade and everything, which, you know, that's going to bring the price on this dirt work about $100,000. But I see what you say. If we have a bad rainy event, but we want to rain 2 months, which, you know, doesn't
Even with the
stop.
seal, I was just wondering if it would deteriorate to the point that we would have to go back and do a bunch more dirt work before we could pave it.
Yeah.
You never know about
Right.
something like that.
Yeah. But, that's what we put that in there, because we don't have to money there.
Any rest of the council have any questions or? road cut, or? On this? I mean, we're gonna do Walnut and Third Street, there's just an overlay, right?
Well, we're gonna do the whole works in both of those roads.
So we're gonna do the whole thing,
Yes.
recondition them and
We're
everything?
gonna stabilize it with cement and do everything, 2 inches of,
Do you have any kind of schedule yet when they're gonna be able to come?
no, that's, I'm gonna schedule it after we get done with this meeting, because I wanted to see if they can push this here, if we're gonna go with the dirt
Well,
work.
so they'll have a timetable, how long they're gonna be here and how much they're gonna do.
Right.
Understood.
What's the total cost of fixing that road, 214?
214, let me see,
You're there, those.
right a little bit over, 245,000.
264,000?
So it'd be 174,000 next year, 90,000 this year.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying, that if we do it like this, we're gonna take a big chunk of our budget of repairs, street repair next year, on our next year's budget. But, you know, the road has to be fixed, and we know that, so. I don't know if you want me to try to do half of that road, you know, that's another option, that we can do half of it, and then do the other half probably next year.
You're at.
Where would half be? From where to where?
I just have to think, it'll be from, 109 past the little, yes. Oh, wait, you know, that's where all the houses are really, you know, past that, there's just a couple houses. That's the, what is it? 108B. Yeah, 108, County Road 108B. Of course, I didn't get that measure, but I can go back and see what it is to finish up that one section.
The people gonna complain.
They're gonna complain no matter what.
Is there another road project that 90,000 would cover? Instead of
We have some work to do over here on our Meadow Ridge, one. Some of the roads that we didn't do, you know, a couple of years back, they're gonna need some work there. I don't know how much we can, you know, cover with $93,000, it's gonna be quite a bit.
Would that cover anything about doing anything over there on Bulldog Drive or Student Drive or something like that?
Well, we can,
That budget for the 214 next year?
we can, I guess we can go that way too. I mean,
Because I hate to put dirt down and then 2 months later be torn up with rains or driving.
That's what Ray was saying.
I know, but I mean, it doesn't make sense, because then we're just gonna have to pay a little bit more to have that fixed again. But do we have enough to cover something that would, you know, kind of fix the roads around Bulldog or Student?
I can get them back out here to, you know, to measure that and see that, that Bulldog Drive, Student Drive, it's in terrible shape in some places. And, you know, we did some work ourselves, and it's just, that is poor soil.
Those two roads right there is a lot of traffic.
It's a lot of traffic, and it is just an old dirt farm, and it would take a lot of stabilizing that in deep rock to ever stabilize it enough where it's not gonna just crack.
I can
Of the seasons.
I can get him sometime this week to come and look at this other, you know. I didn't think about that one.
I'd rather see different options.
Okay.
In my opinion.
But we can go
Instead of having
ahead,
it torn up.
we can go ahead and start with the Walnut and Third Street. I mean, those are, you know.
Yeah, we definitely need to get those two done, and if, what do you think, Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, I would think we will focus, on them streets around the school, since there's more
Okay.
traffic there. That would be a wise thing to do.
Mr. Dave?
My opinion is either fix that street around the school or finish the projects that we started, which is Meadow Ridge 1, so that it's 100% complete. And then, you know, if the money's not there to fix that Bulldog what is it now, Bulldog Drive, Student Drive. If the money's not there, let's fix what we started, so that it's 100%.
There's still a few streets down Meadow Ridge 1 that hasn't been done
That's what I,
during this project, correct? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's what
you're trying, that's what you're saying?
yeah. I mean, weigh all the options, and if Student Drive is out of the 93,000, or whatever he has in the funds for the roads, maybe finishing up Meadow Ridge 1 is the money's there. And then it's one, you can check it off, then it's done.
See, we were gonna finish that one, and we ended up doing 109 East, you know, because that was in really bad shape, you know, so we did just North Point, Vista Ridge, and Meadow Ridge. That's why the streets in the middle, they was left out.
They were left out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people live out 214. I catch a lot of complaints from them, but a lot of them don't live in the city either, so they're not paying taxes, but that is a city street, so we are responsible for it at some point. But we've always tried to hit the higher traffic areas first. From the time we started this road conditioning project, way back 7 years ago, it was always our intentions to try to go do the higher traffic areas first, so.
214 needs to be done sometimes.
Oh,
I agree.
It's in bad shape, just like 109 out there was in bad shape,
But if we do it in 2 sections like that, you're gonna waste your money.
Yeah, I'd rather do it all at one time, so.
yeah. So maybe this year we can, like I say, look at a couple of the options, Student Drive, maybe Meadow Ridge, you know, what it would cost to do the crossing streets there, and see what we can do with the rest of that money. Then next year we will try to address 214. If we can't do it all, then we'll do it, recondition the whole thing in stages, half and half, 1 year and then the next, because I just know our luck. If we tried to go those 2 months without putting anything on top of it besides just a little bit of conditioner, the conditioner and the right base and everything else be washed down the street, but we get a natural flood. So.
Are you be okay if I went ahead and get them here, measure this, give us a price?
Give us some options.
Just 2 options.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we started that in Meadow Ridge, I mean, if we have enough to finish it, let's finish it.
Yep.
So.
And then, like I said, there's always Walnut, 3rd Street, and then we'll do, as far as the money allow us, either Meadow Ridge or Student Drive, either one. I mean, Meadow Ridge is something we've already started, so I agree with Mr. Daly. I think we need to finish.
Okay.
Ms. Scott?
So,
I agree that Meadow Ridge needs to be finished. If you started it, you know, need to finish it. And see how far we can go.
Okay. If that's the consensus, then it says discuss and consider approval to authorize the city of Ennis to perform road work, but it says on county road, so we'll just take no action and let Caesar do some further investigation. Get a couple more options for us. Is that good enough for everybody? We'll take no action on number 10.
Thanks, Caesar.
Thank you for the option. Discussion and consider action to approve request to relocate funds in the water sewer fund to special project line item for new infrastructure and fire hydrants in the area of Pine Street. Caesar, you're up again, I'm sorry.
no problem. This guy is gonna build 5 houses over there on Pine Street.
Mr. Hill?
Mr. Hill is gonna build those five houses. We got a brand new sewer line on the alleyway that we got done about 3 years ago or so. But I look at the options that we have to tie in the water. Everything over there is too small. You know, everything is either 1.5 or 2 inch. And the flow is gonna be very minimum to none. The pressure is gonna drop. So I was talking to April, and some of these special projects that we had, some of the money that you all approved for special projects, especially of water, that it was gonna be painting this water tower. I got a quote, I only have one quote. I asked 3 companies to come and give me quotes, but it's gonna involve about 700 foot of 6-inch water line that is gonna tie in on Hickory Street. Is gonna bring it down to Pine, and we're gonna put a fire hydrant on that side of town. There's no fire hydrants there. And we're gonna leave the stubs ready there to move with bigger lines, you know, to both sides of the 3rd Street, because everything is 2-inch, like I said, 2-inch and 1.5-inch lines. This is something that we need to do, and we need to get it, if it passes, we need to get moving right away, because he already started to work on his land over there to build those houses.
So where's the nearest fire hydrant?
Hickory and 2nd Street. The other fire hydrant is over there by your house.
There are sons.
That's one right across from the old, right across the street from the school.
Oh, on 3rd Street, yes.
Yeah,
3rd and Beach,
yeah,
over there on that corner.
yeah, that's the closest one.
Yeah, there's nothing on Pine or west of Hickory. There's no fire hydrant down that road. I know it's only 1 block, but it's still, you know, there's no way to get water there.
And this property you're talking about that they're gonna put 5 homes,
It's, they bought 3 lots, and you'll approve it to put 5 homes there.
oh, there you go.
Across from the bus barn,
Yeah.
by the church.
So the price for this project is gonna be about $40,000. And we have about 25,000 that, on the special projects to do the tower. And on my budget, I have some, not necessarily repairs, but you know, when we have to extend lines, you're gonna have to pull it out of repairs, you know, on my budget, on my regular budget. I have an item there with some, probably another $15,000 to cover this project.
I understand. Any questions or comments by the council? Well, no questions or comments, I'll open the floor for a motion to relocate the funds in the water sewer fund to special projects line item for the new infrastructure and fire hydrants in the area of Pine Street.
I make a motion, we request to reallocate funds from the water sewer fund to the special project for the new infrastructure fire hydrants in the area of Pine Street.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Krajak, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Scott, all in favor? All in favor, not opposed, the motion carries. All right, we're on number 12 is acceptance of the canvas election results as presented to Mayor Burgess. And the canvas, I'll give you, since Ms. Scott was part of it, to help review the canvas and make sure all the numbers tally up. This is this.
They add up.
We have a total registered number of voters of 1,117 in the city. We had 140 ballots cast. 88 was for Miss Jeannie Scott, and 49 was for Chris Shellman. 3 undecideds for a total of 140 votes, which is 100% of the votes casted. So, canvass the votes officially. Council of the City of Venus, Texas, to canvass the returns of the general election held on May 7th of May 2016 for the purpose of electing council member place 3 and declare election officials to office, confirm Texas Open Meetings Act compliance, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause, providing a publication clause, providing an effective date, and providing certification of adoption. So there's no objection. Anybody have any discussion or questions on basically accepting the canvassing of the votes and the results of the election? None, then I'll open the floor for a motion to accept ordinance 434-2016. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion of approval of ordinance 434-2016.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Day to accept the ordinance, second? Second by Councilmember Hernandez. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 14. Administers the statement of election, elected officials, and administer the oath of office to the elected city council members, meaning Scott, Geronimo Hernandez, and Mr. Westlake. So, y'all gotta be sworn in, right, to what is coming down.
Okay.
Okay, repeat after me, and I'll say blank, state your name. I, I,
Geronimo Hernandez, Jr.
West State.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear.
or affirm
Or affirm.
that I will not directly or indirectly pay
that I
That I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered or promised to pay,
offered or promised to pay,
contributed or promised to contribute any money or things of value,
contributed or promised to contribute to any money or things paid,
or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote,
or promised any public office or employment for giving or withholding of a vote
as the election in which I was elected,
at the election at which I was elected,
or as reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward for my appointment of
whichever the case may be, so help me God.
whichever the case may be, so help me God.
All right. There's another one, so y'all hang on. Raise your hand. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I
Geronimo Hernandez, Jr.
I was
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
of city council
of council member place 5 for the city of Venus,
Council member place 4 of the city of Venus,
Councilmember place 3 of the city of Venice,
of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the laws of the United States and of the state, of this state, so help me God.
And the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
That's good, thank y'all. Another 2-year sentence, folks. Oh, okay. I think they were signing theirs, what's all this? Oh, okay. And here is all the canvassing of the building. So I don't lose it either. Officially locked in for another 2 years. All right. All right. Each year we're required by the state to appoint a mayor pro tem for the election year. So last year, Mr. Dady served as mayor pro tem. The 2 previous years, Mr. Hernandez served as mayor pro tem. So I've been very lucky to have 2 excellent people kind of backing me up, making sure that if something was to happen to me, or if I was out of town, out of pocket, they would sign checks or take care of city business. So once again, we have to appoint a mayor pro tem, and this is not, we don't have to have a motion or a second. We just need we just have to make just declare somebody that you would like to serve as mayor pro tem. So, and we'll do it in order, and then we'll vote on it in order that they were nominated. So we'll just take nominations, starting with Ms. Prezak.
I'd like to nominate, Mr. Wood.
Number 1, Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood, do you have a nomination? Mr. Wood does not have a nomination. Ms. Scott?
I nominate West.
Nominate West Davey. Mr. Hernandez, do you have a nomination? Mr. Davey, do you have a nomination?
No.
I'll go ahead and put Dean Scott.
Okay, well, we're gonna have Ms. Scott as the number 3rd nomination. So, order, we're gonna just take a simple up, yes or no vote on the nominees in order. The first one was Mr. Wood. All in favor of Mr. Wood? Opposed? Okay, so there's 2 for, and none opposed, and guess y'all just 3 abstain?
Yeah.
Next one is Mr. West Dady. All in favor of Mr. West Dady? Opposed? Abstained? And by procedure, the first one to receive a majority vote wins. So Mr. West Dady, you will serve your 2nd year as mayor pro tem. So Mr. Dady wins the nomination of mayor pro tem for congratulations. Something happens to me, you'll be on house sick, all right? All right, number 16, discuss and consider approval of ordinance 435-2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Venus, Johnson, and Ellis County, Texas, consisting to the inclusion of hereafter described property into the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the City of Venus. This is another ETJ area that we want to bring into our ETJ. It's been requested. Where's this located at, this stuff? I know we have it in our packet, but
It's the
this
back row of Venus Ridge Street.
back road of Venus Ridge Street, just for the gallery, so they'll understand. Does anyone have any questions on this property? Or EJ? Comments? Well, no questions or comments. The floor is open for a motion to accept ordinance 435-2016.
Make motion to accept ordinance 435-2016.
Have a motion by Ms. Frazak, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davey. All in favor? All in favor, not opposed, motion carries. Number 17, discussion and consider approval of ordinance 430-2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Venus, Johnson, and Ellis County, Texas, abandoning certain streets and alleys, plats, there's Walnut Street, Cherry Street, 9th Street, South Street, 8th Street, and Twin Bulldog Drive, and FM 157 per request of landowner in pursuit to a petition for amended signs by each affected landowner. This was on last month's agenda, and it was voted down, but by Chapter 22 of the Local Government Code, Type A General Law City, it gives the mayor the discretion to bring this back up if he or she feels like that the vote was based on improper or insufficient information. So I don't believe that maybe everybody truly understood what we were trying to achieve, and if you feel the same way, it's your prerogative, but I just want to make sure that everybody understood that, whether the city buys this land or not, any developer that comes in is going to have to replat it. And that's just our ordinance. They're going to have to replat it, and they're not going to use the current plat. This is basically just eliminating the old plat, which was made back in 1905 or beyond that. I'm not sure. But nobody builds on lots that size. Nobody would use that configuration. So it's just basically to clean up our mapping as we go forward with this paid company an extraordinary amount of money to create a new city map for us, and we need to clean this up. The streets that are there, the alleys, the easements, if we need them for water, sewer lines, whatever, we can require it in the new plat. I mean, they cannot build, like the plat came in front of you tonight, they cannot build anything if somebody just wants to go in there and put a small housing addition in there. They can't put anything there without replatting. So I just believe that just for the sake of cleaning up our mapping system with the county, it was something that needs to be done, and I'm just not sure everybody understood that if by doing away with this, it does not preclude us from requiring certain streets or alleys if we so deem that it is needed by ordinance, or in the future, our city engineers would look at it and they would require certain streets like they do in any of these other plats that additions that were being put in, or something else was being put in, like if the Canton State did go ahead with the project and reconfiguration of the road, we can, it would change the platting altogether again. So I brought this up for further discussion and questions, so that's my opinion on it. So does anybody have any questions or any discussions y'all would like to make?
I can start, the roads that are in there already, the streets, does the city own them right now or not? But the city can go in there and put in a road.
The city doesn't own the land out there that they just replatted out here by Patriot Estates, that we just approved the plat. I mean, we just had a public hearing on the plat, we don't own that land. But our ordinance requires a certain amount of roads per design of the engineering plans and the plats. We require a certain amount of easements and roads and stuff like that. It's just part of our ordinance, but we don't own the land out there.
If a developer wants to come in to build houses there, then he's got the option to put them roads in.
He not only has the option, he has the requirements based on living up to our ordinances and our codes, our building codes. And that's not only has the option, he has the requirements to. And if we don't like the configuration that he comes up with, we can, as a council, request him to change it. Now, usually if our city approves it, normally, I've always felt like that they were more qualified to adjudicate whether it meets the requirements or not than I am. So I've always just deferred to our, since we've gotten a city engineer for years, we didn't have one. But now that we do, that I just kind of usually lean toward him, but he would make sure that any easements for us needing to put water, gas, sewer lines in are there, any roads that are required to service, you know, they're not gonna let them put a house there that you don't have a road to get to it. I mean, you know, the engineer's not gonna allow that. He's gonna make them have roads to get to all the houses.
The property owner has the deed that's got that removed. But
he doesn't ever do that. It really is a deed that states that, I've read it,
that it's not on there.
that states that he owns all of it.
Correct.
But, okay, he owns the land, but he still has to live up to city ordinances and requirements. I'm just saying that it's kind of a, you know, chicken and egg, which one's gonna come first? Well, no matter what is built there, they're gonna have to live up to our ordinances and requirements.
Correct.
And that means they're going to come to a plat, it's going to have, I mean, they're going to develop a plat, it's going to have to come from the council, it's going to have to be approved. And the current configuration, nobody builds by that anymore. I mean, that's like where Wes lives or where I live. My house was built in 1905. It was based on a plat like what is in place now over there. Nobody builds by those type of flats anymore. Nobody puts a house on that kind of configured lot. It's just antiquated. I mean, you know, it's like trying to pull a load of groceries to Texarkana with 20 mules or 10 or use a truck. I mean, now they use trucks. I mean, because it's modern times. I mean, modern times have dictated new designs and new lot sizes. This one is just out of date. And to keep it on the books for no reason when nobody's going to use it. I mean, you can either get rid of it tonight or whenever somebody does build on it in 2 or 3, 5 years, you're going to have to replat it and get rid of it then. So being that we're doing this mapping, this new mapping, I just don't understand why we don't clean up our paperwork with the county.
Mayor,
Yes.
there's something,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
land on these streets that are asking to be abandoned, aren't they already owned by somebody?
Yes.
We're Tyler Village owns that land,
That's
the
right.
post office owns
That's right.
that land. So how are they saying that somebody else can come in and deal with what you've already got?
Well,
This
these,
is there.
the way I understand it, these are on the other side of the post office. Is that not correct?
No.
Or is that for the
No,
whole lot?
it's where it all is, where the post office is, where retirement village is.
Well, and that's another reason that I thought this was not,
The streets they're asking me to abandon
Can everybody see? This right here, this building right here is the post office. And this right here is the retirement building.
Right.
They actually come down and there's like a kind of piers down that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? This street right here is 9th Street. We're never going to develop that street. Never, ever. Why would we? We'd have to tear down the Venus Retirement Village to the post office. And I think people would be against that in the community. Not being facetious, I'm being serious. And so it doesn't make any sense. These alleys that go up north here, we don't need those alleys to deliver the services like water, sewer, etc. We don't have alleys for purposes. If you remember too, over here is Bulldog. It says Bulldog. And as Walnut comes through and Oak and Cherry goes through, again, those aren't going to be places that we're ever going to develop and put streets in. If we have a street here, we have a street here, we have a street there.
But how did they approve the post office and the retirement village if the streets were there?
How did
The
they?
streets were not there.
There was, Rockwell, there was never streets.
Correct.
Well, but I'm just saying, how could they approve it without closing these? He said, we're asking to be
They did so
closed
without
now.
asking for permission. They did so without asking for permission.
Who did?
Yeah, whenever they built it, they just built it.
So they just, in other words, they didn't follow
Your
the
question's a good
rules.
one. Yeah.
They didn't go in front of council, they didn't, they just came went down to City Hall and asked for a building permit. No, they did that. They may have just built it without a permit.
And I don't
We
think
had
they did.
very little oversight back in those days.
1993, and then the post office building probably is.
I mean, that's the point. We had no city engineers, we had very little oversight from the
This
City
was
Hall.
done, this was done in the early 1900s.
Yes.
So this is old. This paperwork is very old.
So first of all, from, what is this, Student Drive here, or Bulldog Drive? Bulldog Drive this way, we're never gonna do that. From this way is open ground, and we discussed buying that land, and reconfiguring the road, but even if that doesn't happen, nobody's gonna build on that configuration.
Yeah, it'd be insane for us to put in streets here and here on that small tract. These 4 little lots are so tiny, you wouldn't be able to build a house on them. Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know
All
about that,
all
but-
this is doing is cleaning up this old plat. We don't own, your question earlier, we don't own that land. We don't own it, okay? All this is, just like when we had easements for drainage easements, and we had easements for electricity and utilities, again, it's like, you have to think about it like this, it's kind of like, here's somebody's land, right? There's mineral rights underneath it, right, which are part of that land. There's surface rights for water on the land. There's easements that go on top for drainage. There's easements that go on top for other things. And it's kind of layering on that property. There's multiple things that go on there. The only one that actually owns it is the property owner. These other things are just rights that are going with the land. And all we're asking is to clean one of those layers up, and that way the properties can go forward. That's all we're doing.
Any other questions or discussion?
Oh, this stole this from somebody. Stole this from you, sorry.
That was mine. No, just kidding.
Well, then if there's no further questions or discussions, I'll open the floor for a motion on ordinance 435-2016. 2016.
No.
430.
430, am I wrong?
Yeah, we're on 17.
Oh, excuse me, 430-2016, I was looking at the wrong agenda item.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 430-2016.
Motion by Councilwoman Razak to approve ordinance 430-2016, is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Second by Councilman Wood, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 3-2. Razak, Woods, and Scott in favor, Hernandez and Davey opposed. Motion carries. appreciate that.
You okay?
Yeah, I will.
I didn't know you were gonna turn over
Well, I didn't know that thing was gonna fall on me either. Nice chair.
here. I make a motion without the mayor and the chair.
Uh-oh. You got a little, how about a bag thing?
Yeah, napkins, Kleenex, rags.
What did you get?
My glasses into my nose. I hit the counter.
I'm so sorry.
Daddy, you may have to take over quicker than I thought.
You all right, Mayor?
At least we know you won't sue us.
Don't be so sure. I think it was the law firm's fault. All right.
Do you want me to revote?
Huh?
I have to take the blame for that one.
That's all right. I'll live. I think the first time my glasses done it. All right, moving along. I'll live. Discussion and consider approval of financial year, or approval of a financial year 2016 budget amendment to transfer an amount of $360,000 from fund balance to special projects for the purpose of transacting as previously approved on February 8, 2016 in executive session of council meeting for approximately 10 acres of land located at County Road 109, Venus, Texas. I'm gonna adjourn, move the meeting into executive session at 8:30 because this deals with property, so we can discuss the potential of buying property. So at 8:30 we're gonna go into executive session. Just go, I want the collar and the backboard. I'll be all right. Thank you. I appreciate it. How about a better chair? I thought the chair would hold up better than that. Meeting to regular session at 9:14. Is that be good enough?
Yes, sir.
And so, go back to agenda item number 18, discussion, consider approval of a financial year 2016 budget amendment to transfer an amount of $360,000 from the fund balance to special projects for the purposes of transaction as described, approved on February 8, 2016 in executive session of City Council meeting for approximately 10 acres of land located at County Road 109, Venus, Texas. Is there any, now we're back in open session, is there any further discussion or questions by council?
I make a motion, we approve.
That was discussion, I ain't had for a motion yet. I said any further discussion or questions by council? I guess there's no further discussions or questions. I'll open the floor for a motion, Ms. Prezak.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2016 budget to transfer the amount of $360,000 from fund balance to special projects.
Have a motion by Ms. Prezak to transfer the $360,000 from fund balance to special projects. And I have a second. Second by Councilman Wood. All in favor? Opposed? We have Ms. Prezak, Mr. Woods, and Ms. Scott in favor, Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Dady opposed. Motion carries. Okay, we're gonna go with the presentation of the monthly department reports. I'm gonna start with Mr. Rocha.
I don't have much, but, we finished the fence over there at the park, the fence that is blocking 157 at Oak Street. So if we paint the gate and everything, we can, start closing that section of the park anytime, whenever we get those signs up. Let's see, we help out a little bit on the Antique Alley Fest that we had the other day. we've been clearing some brush and debris among the alleyways. The guys worked with the NEAT program with April 2 weeks ago or so. And this, I put this on because I want you all to know that this company, APAC, they do a lot of work for the highways and everything, and they done a lot of work on 1807. They widened the road about 2 feet. But they removed a lot of those paper for the codes, and they give us as many as we can bring with us, So and those things are used, but they still in good shape. That's the part that goes on the end of the culverts, from the roads. So we're gonna save a lot of money when we start to replace some of these culverts here on that. We replaced 8 water meters on our water system. We got those sewer taps for Pine Street on those new homes that are coming up. I've done some work for paperwork with the state. This new rule that came up in April about, we're buying water from Midlothian, and it's, they call it chloraminated water. And they use ammonia for their disinfection system, for the disinfection. And of course, we're only using chlorine with our well water. And we created chloramines as well, but they're on a lower ratio, chemically. But we got an engineer that we have to have a blessing from an engineer to send this letter to the state, and we got it done this past month. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council? Yes.
Did we not approve for cable to be put through those?
Yes, we did, but the cable was gonna run more than what we approved. The cost of the metal had gone up so much that the cable was going to go over the motion amount. I think, what was it, 1,800?
It was 1,800, and it was gonna be about 2,200 after we got the cable in place. The rebar came out about $100 extra, but it was just one of those things that we wanted to put something there.
Does that make sense? Ready?
What did we approve for? How much?
1,800.
1,800? And how much was it?
For the poles and the cable was gonna be over 2,200.
It was gonna be over 2,200 when after we checked for the price on that cable.
We spent 19.
So we spent 19?
What did you just say?
Yeah, we spent 1,800 that
We
you all approved.
approved 1,800, but he spent 100 over, so that makes 19. To do it the way that we said was 2,200. Right?
Have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it, yes, I have.
Or do you not like the way it
I thought it's all about being uniform and keeping what we got. Keeping the same look, and now you put rebar up there. It is what it is. I just asked the question. I thought we approved something.
Yeah, we did, but because of the cost, it was adjusted based on, the approved amount wasn't enough. And that was the reasoning, whether it turned out the way it looked, aesthetically, is the word I was looking for. The way that you would like it or not, it was a call, and they asked me, I made the call.
We thought that much more than the first class. And for what we approved.
I understand, but if I'm gonna go first class, I'm gonna do something that says, wooden post on the ground. I can do a really nice fence around the whole park, real nice fence like you see up in Garland or Grand Prairie or somewhere.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah, but it's gonna be more than 2,200. So, you know, depending on what first class seating, you know, what, I guess what airlines you wanna go. Any other questions? Okay, no other further questions, Chief, you're up next.
Yeah. As you can see in our monthly report, calls for service were 91 for April, incident reports were 38, arrests were 9, accidents were 5, traffic stops contacts 237, citations issued were 92, and there were 212 warnings issued. As far as training goes, we attended some good 15 full-length training courses online. Another good thing we were able to do is send Corporal Grimm to the medical death investigation course. I think that's really important because even though I have homicide investigation experience, I needed somebody else on the staff that also had comparable experience. He's also been a detective before, so I really like having him have that training. The community programs, the Explorer Post conducted 4 meetings in April with the attendance of about 12 individuals. The program is going really strong. This is last week, fire department and us presented all the 8th graders to the middle school about the Explorer program and was able to reach out to them, so that was a really good deal. We also was able to give the force uniforms. Another good beginning, we'll increase in that. We've also received probably about $250 in donations for the Explorer program that then added back into the general fund. So even though we're spending some money on the program, the citizens are backing this up. And also, you know, a number of us in the fire department attended the HOA meeting for Patriot Estates, and we intend on doing that quarterly so that the citizens there have the ability to ask some questions about the police department or fire department, or, you know, code enforcement officer Halstead was also there. That's pretty much all I have. Nothing really else going on. I'm sure you have any other questions.
Anybody any questions for the chief?
I got comments.
Okay, go ahead.
My wife reserves for Cleveland Police Department. She was at the jail this weekend, and the jail staff at Cleveland for Johnson County, they really praised and talked up the officers that were coming in from Phoenix. Their professionalism, and it seems like they're out there doing a lot of stuff they hadn't done in the past, and they were really appreciative of what they're doing. So
That's good to know.
that's been on.
Great job.
Appreciate it.
You're man. If there's no other questions for the chief, then Ms. Stowe, you're up.
Okay, we have, we campaigns, this Saturday, we just had on 30th. At the last one, we had about 40 workers, and Glenn came out, volunteered, helping out a lot. So that's a lot more just to control. So this Saturday will be Oak Street, to the east, including Meadow Ridge Drive, Fifth Street, up to and including North Point Drive. And we have had one request for tear down, so step in the right direction. We continue working on the EPJ project, set up your iPads, hope you're all doing this.
Still learning, still learning.
Okay. The Better Walk insert, this is the document, if y'all, I put the site concept plan in there, it's several pages long, but it's an example. Ours won't look exactly like this, but similar, so you know what to expect on June 11th. So this Wednesday, we're gonna meet out here at the square and from 5:30 to 7:30 to start cleaning up the exterior of the town square buildings in preparation for the event. And if you go online to the Team Better Walk website, you can sign up for the different workshops that are scheduled over the next few weeks leading up to the event on June 11th. So please help us get the word out. We need community involvement. Mountain Peak agreed to the 8% fee for taking over our sewer billing for the city. We're still in negotiation with all the terms. Hopefully that'll be on the June agenda for your review. The land surveys were done, not only on the 10 acres, but it was also done on Chavis Park and also on Pine Street, in preparation for the street, Pine Street. Gabby Donuts is we're still working next to City Hall, so I expect to open a gate there. phase 2 to their final walkthrough. I have not given them an acceptance letter yet, because the water has not signed off on it, that's why I filed it. That's it. The city of Leon signs have been ordered, and that should be installed by August, hopefully. And then the last thing on here, Josh Brooks has requested to be on the June agenda. Until action is taken on that item, he can bring that and request it every single month until actual action is taken. So.
What's he want on the agenda for?
For a vote for the mobile home subdivision, because.
And what makes him believe that there would be any?
There was no action taken.
I know there was no action taken. If action is taken, even to deny his approval, then not only him, but no one else can ask to have a zoning change on that property for 1 year.
Right.
So, you know, that's, we did not vote. You know, when, like I say, if I ask for a motion, it doesn't have to be a motion to approve, it can be a motion to deny.
Right.
So, and once that is voted on, and if there's a majority vote to deny a zoning change, then he cannot come back and request it again. Or any other potential land purchaser cannot request a zoning change if he wants to build a 10-story building up there. It cannot be done by our ordinances for 1 year. So, I was just curious, though, if he had some new proposal.
No, he's gonna keep bringing this item back every night until he gets some sort of action, because he's trying to keep that contract alive.
Okay, well, then we'll listen to what he has to say, then the council will make their judgment, and they, you know, but it be understood that, you know, if you just don't make any motion, then he can keep bringing it back up every month if he wants to.
Good to know.
So that's something for the future. Anything else? Anybody have any questions for? Yes?
I don't get to give a department report, but April's going to see me some of her time. Is that okay?
Say what?
I don't get a department report, so April's going to let me talk for a second.
He's gonna take some of April's time.
But why would we want to hear anything you got to say?
Okay.
I'm just playing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the projects that the councils in the past have asked me to work on, and then later they didn't ever take action on, people before you guys, was that they always wanted to have a rules and procedures decorum policy for city council. Meaning that how things get heard, whether we follow Robert's rules, those kind of things. I've always wanted to implement that. A lot of cities have really robust, smart policies for that. And it really clears up a lot of questions. If you're a city councilor, you're like, well, this happened in this meeting, can we do this? And we actually would have a manual that we could go, oh, well, it says this, you can do this. It gives some structure, it creates some rules. It's also one that is, it's an enabling document for people that are for like citizen participation, giving them time, and increasing their time like we did several years ago. And it also will set our meetings of when they are, so we know when our regular meetings are.
Didn't we already pass an ordinance?
I just need to know if you guys are interested in something like that or not interested.
Okay, but
Excuse me. This item, although worthy to be discussed, is not a part of our agenda, and it might be helpful if the mayor
Kathy, if any,
would like to add it to the next agenda for June.
Yeah.
You guys just talked with Caesar during his department report, talked to the chief during his department report.
But see, that's
I'm not asking you for action. It doesn't need to be an agenda item if we're
and I
not
know, but see,
taking action.
here's the problem, Cass, and I'm gonna just tell you what the problem is. I get mixed information from you. At one time, when Jerry was here, you said we couldn't ask questions during department reports. Then, after he left, you told me we could. I asked you one time about the decorum and Robert's Rule of Law.
Mayor, we'll gladly put it on next month's agenda.
And you said that, you know, you recommended to me that we not have it because then it could be, if we did mess up, it could be a question of, did we follow the proper Robert's Rule of Law based on, because we passed an agenda. but we should just try to generally follow it. Now, you're saying that we should pass one, so I'm just wondering, you know, what's right? Because you tell me one thing one time and something else the next time, so I'm just wondering what is the best thing for us to do? Just, I mean, we got to follow state law and not, you know, open rules law, but we can't, as Ms. Lynn just pointed out, we can't have a formal discussion. I know you're not asking for action, but we can't even, technically not supposed to discuss things unless it's on the agenda, I believe.
That's true.
So, with that,
If
I
that's
think
the
you brought
case,
it to our.
if her new determination of what should be on our agendas or not.
It's not a new determination.
Caesar just
That's-
talked for a long time about a cable, which is not on the agenda. They just talked about that. There was no objection to him talking about that.
They talked about.
They
the
talked for a
fence.
great deal of time about a lot of things. They weren't taking action on those items, and they're not discussion items.
Well,
Well-
you were not on the agenda,
But
Kevin.
Caesar was on the agenda for.
Caesar is not on the agenda. Those are department reports.
He is listed.
But it's not an action item. It's not something that you guys are gonna vote on and you're gonna take
We
action.
didn't, we just asked Caesar questions and he was on the agenda for department reports and you said we could ask the departments questions. At one
Again,
time,
I'm
you
not
told me we
asking for
couldn't.
action. I will
So there was no
beg for
action
it.
taken on the director's report.
So, anyway, what we're gonna do is, we are been made aware of it now. We will give it due consideration and we will look at the possibility of putting it on next month's agenda, okay?
I would appreciate that, Mayor, because I do
We
think there
will,
needs
we
to be
will look
some.
at doing that, okay?
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. And, being we already done executive session, there's nothing left to do but adjourn this meeting at 9:33. Thank y'all.